Trams for the Watsons Bay service were housed at Fort Macquarie and in this depot in New South Head Road, Rushcutters Bay. Although a toast rack breakdown tram can be glimpsed, all regular services on the Watsons Bay line were provided by corridor trams from as early as 1934. Travellers from the affluent suburbs on this route thus enjoyed a particularly comfortable service. These trams are R1 class corridor trams. They were a refinement of the earlier R class design, which had two centre doors on each side. An inbound tram approaches the latter day terminus at Queen's Square. The curve on this loop was a 46 feet radius, the tightest on the Sydney tramway network. After passing St Mary's Cathedral, trams traversed Boomerang Street to reach William Street. At King's Cross, the line turned briefly into Darlinghurst Road and then into Bayswater Road. At Rose Bay. Climbing the hill from Rose Bay. In the background, the flying boat base, which has followed the trams into history. Along the suburban streets of Vaucluse, with more glimpses of the harbour. And then begins the descent on single track to Watsons Bay. Trams ran down through Watsons Bay Park, past two loops, the first of which was Park Loop. Through the shady spot known as the Glen, and to another loop named Gap Loop after the gap nearby. Safety from collisions on single-track lines such as this was assured by railway-style staff and ticket working. At Gap Loop, the conductress obtains the staff, authorising the tram to continue on its way. Watsons Bay terminus in Military Road. Let's watch another tram making the scenic descent through Watsons Bay Park, one of the outstandingly attractive tram rides in Sydney. The Watsons Bay line was one of the few lines in Sydney to be closed and then reopened. In December 1949, the section beyond Dover Road, Rose Bay, was closed, but public protest led to its reopening in the following May. In later years, the Transport Department adopted a policy of removing overhead wiring or paving over tracks within hours of tramway closures to prevent any resumption of service. Now, let's take a ride up the hill. Separate overhead wires were provided for trams in each direction, and check rails provided added security from derailments on this sharply curved line. More work for the conductress, collecting the staff at Park Loop. As we approach the signal station at Vaucluse, another tram departs for the city. At the beginning of the double track, we pass an outbound service. The crossover at Williams Street Double Bay was the terminus for many trams which did not make the full trip to Watsons Bay. Extra trams also ran from the city to Rose Bay and to other intermediate points, providing a very intensive service on the inner section of the route. Inbound at King's Cross, trams passing at the top of William Street. The evening peak hour in William Street seems no less busy in 1960 than it is today. The neon advertising signs, which were once a feature of William Street, provide a backdrop to these trams at dusk. Trams on the Elizabeth Street routes reached Circular Quay via Phillip Street, turned briefly into Bridge Street, then into Young Street.